August 18, 2001, an ending of Little Bear with the Nick Jr. logo went way too far after a report of someone who watched it ended up dying on the spot. The rumor turned out to be a hoax, or so I'd thought. I'm what you call a logo designer. I design logos for companies in need of a logo. My credits are Gravitas Ventures, Uncorked Entertainment, Cinemapocalypse, IFC Midnight, Breaking Glass Pictures, and most recently the Shudder logo. I had a pretty decent lineup in my belt, felt pretty glad for myself, that is, until 2004 hit. It all started in the middle of winter. I was finishing on my project for college when a knock was heard at my door. I approached and opened the door. It was Dean and my 3D modeling professor, Professor Glasdasif. They came to tell me that someone had dropped a VHS tape and asked if it belonged to anyone. I looked around and said no, but I also asked if I could take a look. The two nodded as they handed over the tape. I plugged in a VCR I packed in my closet, plugged into a CRT TV and turned it on, got it working. I was about to insert the tape in, when I saw a note poking out of the VCR's tray. I pulled it out and read it. It said, "Don't view what you'll see. You'll soon regret it." Ominous. I inserted the tape in and that's when the tape started, without any warning. It started with the normal average end credits to Little Bear, nothing much to see, so I fast forwarded them a bit and then stopped at the logo. I noticed something off. Nick in the Nick Jr. logo was mirrored, so the logo was now Xin and the perspective made it look like Nick was staring at Junior. Backwards music slowly started playing after Little Bears stopped. At the 26 mark, Nick spoke. He said, "What is stronger?" Suddenly, Nick started growing more unnatural as more text was shown than the hum and heart. When I decoded the words, my eyes widened. Nick grew more bigger and another piece of text was shown, which shatters over and over. Suddenly, the sky turned black as the last piece of text was shown before cutting to black, and still less. The screen slowly faded to an ominous standing figure of Nick and a scared-looking Junior looking in. I let out a scream as it suddenly showed Nick's face at Junior. It was red and twisted with static as the only phrase shown was me. I even saw Junior's face turn into a black void and scream before it snapped to black. I didn't even care to know what happened next. I took out the tape. Then, I immediately shut off the VCR and threw the tape out the window. Whose idea was it to send someone a VHS tape? Who made this? Who did it? Weeks later, I received news that one of the students went missing after seeing the tape themselves. I was at a loss on what to do. I tried contacting Nick Jr., but they hadn't responded to me in months and they wouldn't especially like having angry visitors over. So I asked my 3D modeling professor, Professor Glasdasif. I went to his classroom with the tape in my hands and asked him to view the tape himself and explain to me what was going on. He glanced over and inserted the tape into his own VCR player and played it. After a minute of watching it, Glasdasif pulled me to the side and explained something surprising. He was a retired broadcaster for Nick Jr. himself. Wow, I didn't know he was a broadcaster himself. He explained something surprising though. The one responsible for airing the tape was my roommate himself. Accordingly, he felt like Nick Jr. wasn't edgy for his taste, so he tried to make an edgy bumper for the company. They rejected it because it was too dark for kids. To this day, only a YouTube video uploaded by Seismo is the only known source of the bumper. It's called Nick Jr. Anomaly, 2001, found footage. On the 19th of August 2001, a day after the first hijacking happened, the Nick Jr. channel was again hijacked during an ending of the show Little Bear, as the Nick Jr. logo again went too far after a report of someone who watched it ended up dying on the spot. The rumor turned out to be a hoax, or so I'd thought. I'm what you call a worker at Microsoft. I had been hired recently to work for patches to fix anomalous operating systems, making sure that operating systems don't develop strange bugs at all. It started in early November. I do remember reading the story of the first part. I was walking around at a park in rural Texas. It was walking alone for so long, I didn't feel like I was going to find something on the floor. While I was walking on the yellow grass, I found something on the grass. It was a DVD that dated from 2001. I had to ask myself whether I should take a look at the tape or not. When I returned home, I brought the disc with me. I decided to turn on my old Windows Vista PC. As I was inserting the DVD in, my computer displayed an exclamation message that read, "Do not view what you will see. You will soon regret it for yourself." Ominous enough, I closed the message, and the video player opened up as the video was going to play. It started with the normal average end credits to Little Bear. Nothing much to see here, so I fast forwarded them a bit and then stopped at the Nelvana logo. Though it started glitching to a pitch black screen, this was when the anomalous part of the video began. When the visuals returned, the Nelvana logo was continuing to play, until it cuts to the Nick Jr. logo showing Nick and Jr. playing catch. But with there, the screen then started glitching as the audio stopped. Then, Nick and Jr. then stood still without doing anything. Nick's word mark was now Xin, and that the perspective made it look like Nick was staring at Jr. This reminded me of the anomalous movie scenes I encountered in the Disney OS. Scary music then started playing in the background, as at the 26 mark, Nick opened his mouth as he started speaking to Jr. He said, "Tell me." The screen glitches again as more text was shown. He said, "What is stronger?" Again, more text was being shown as Nick spoke. His voice was a cacophony of digital noise that somehow coalesced into a semblance of speech, he said, than the human heart. His voice sounded as if it were emanating from a realm far beyond the screen. The words started to echo in my mind as I saw some letters in the text being bold. My eyes widened while looking at the bold letters to the point where I could see the word "eat" being written there. The screen glitches again, until I saw Nick beginning to grow in an unnatural manner as his arms started to get rapidly longer. After that, he said, which shatters over and over. Nick continued to grow more unnaturally as another piece of text was shown. This time he said, "and still lives without reason." While the text was being shown, I had seen the bold letters in the 3 messages that Nick said to Jr. The letters echoed in my mind, and then I soon realized that when these letters were put together, said bold letters would make a sentence that would read "eat or die." The screen then suddenly cuts to white. Before then, what faded was a distraught picture of Jr. looking at an ominous standing figure of Nick, now resembling Kirkhood with long claws, a hay-shaped head and a large eye with orange sclera. Jr. began to scream loudly as the distorted Nick figure said, "Who is the figure on the screen?" Then Nick started to glitch significantly for a little bit as he then said, "The end of all things." Then the entire screen suddenly turns pitch black as the Nick figure began to look even more distorted, with his eye now bearing completely black sclera and a small white glowing pupil. Nick started to make a sinister grin as he said to Jr. the sound of decaying flesh. After that, the figure continued glitching that the last piece of text was shown. The figure then said, "And your doom." The entire screen abruptly glitches to pitch black, and then, an image of the now scared Jr. began to fade into existence. Then afterwards, the figure then began to fade into existence as he appears to be behind Jr. He looks directly at him, and then he said, "Me." The said figure then began to open his mouth, and the glitching sound of his laugh was heard. Jr. then began screaming as the figure continued to get closer to him. Jr.'s mouth then started to open wide as if his face looked as if he had a black void in his face. The Nick figure continued to get closer at Jr. until the entire screen continued to glitch heavily. Before then, the scene snapped to black. I didn't even care to know what happened next. I took out the disc, and then I turned off the computer. Then I threw the disc out into the ground. Whose idea was it to leave behind a DVD disc like this? Who made this? Who did it? Weeks later, I received news that one of the students went missing after seeing the disc themselves. I was at a loss on what to do. I tried contacting Nick Jr. but they hadn't responded to me in months, and they wouldn't especially like having angry visitors over. So then, I tried to contact Nickelodeon about this, and this is what they said to me. "We were very sorry about this experience you had. The DVD was made by a now imprisoned teenage employee named Ivan Glasdasov. a relative of 3D modeling designer Dr. Glassdusser, who hijacked the Nick Jr. channel twice to air two anomalous logos of the company he made, as he felt like Nick Jr. wasn't edgy for his taste. And so we had rejected the logo previously as it was way too dark for kids, to the point where we got complaints from angry parents who said that their children were traumatized by this anomalous logo bumper, and we know it was him all along. So we had to fire him for good. He has been imprisoned since then. We are very sorry for the inconvenience. To this day, only a YouTube video uploaded by Seismo MK700 is the only known source of the footage. It is called Nick Jr. Anomaly 2001, found footage, V2 on the 20th of August 2001. After the first two hijackings, the Nick Jr. channel was hijacked again for the third time, once again happening during an ending of the show Little Bear, as the Nick Jr. logo again went too far for the third time. The hijacking occurred exactly 3 years after the death of a person named Jenica Wakeman. Meanwhile, back to me though, the DVD disc I had last part gave me nightmares. Even worse than those I got in those anomalous operating systems I used. I still didn't want to find any more lost DVD piece buried in the ground, but I was wrong. Let me tell you what happened. I was going to a small town in Texas with my dad, because my mom had to take both of us because she wanted to visit somewhere. Until then, I was walking all over the place. Until then, when again, I found another disc on the floor outside of a door from behind a store, and so I went to the store and I bought the disc for myself to check it. When I came back home, I investigated the disc. I saw that there was text written in the disc, reading, "Do not view what you will see in this disc. You will soon regret it for yourself." Ignoring the warning, I decided to insert the disc on the old Windows Vista computer, and the video player started to play. It started with a part of an episode of Little Bear playing. I mean, the part one was watching was from some episode that I forgot its name. This part is very boring, nothing to see here. So I fast forwarded it to the end credits. However, while the end credits were playing, something strange was happening. To my very own astonishment and alarm, the credits suddenly glitches out to a black screen, and when they returned back, the video itself started to get much darker and scary music began to play in the background. Chills were being sent down my spine as the impossible then happened. The Nirvana logo was then playing, but once it finishes, the screen abruptly cuts to the Nick Jr. logo, and it was very shocking to see. I saw there was an empty white background, and then, I saw the dead body of Junior, with his mouth wide open. There was blood being spilled down from Junior's torso. As the video continued, the screen abruptly glitches again to show an image of a missing person poster of the long-dead Jenica Wakeman, lasting for about 15 to 20 seconds. Until then, the screen glitches again to show a picture of Jenica's dead remains, being pixelated, reminding me of the bodies of the dead children I saw in the Squidward's suicide tape. After that, white text appeared at the bottom. It read, "She broke the rules, so I broke her limbs," lasting for about 5 to 10 seconds. Until then, another piece of text was shown and it read, "The little sunspot didn't listen either." The text was white, except for the little sunspot part, where those 3 words were shown to be blue instead of white. Until then, after about 5 seconds, the screen abruptly cuts to an ominous standing figure of Nick. His mouth was open, and his word mark was again shown as Xin. And just like Scud from Toy Story and the racers from Wreck-It Ralph looking at me directly in the eyes on my past experience while using the Disney OS, Nick was sinisterly staring directly at me in the eyes as if his gaze were piercing from beyond the screen. Later after that, the screen then abruptly showed Nick holding the head of the deceased Junior. Nick's legs were also being shown after being partially darkened. Nick then started to say something to me, as stated in a piece of red-colored text shown to the left of him. He said to me in a cacophonous manner, "It only gets worse from here." After saying that, the text disappears, and he continued to look directly into me. Until then, the impossible happened. Nick then started to rapidly zoom his head towards the screen, where his face now becomes Kirk Hod's face. bearing that hay-shaped head with black eyes and a sinister grin. The entire screen then abruptly cuts to pitch black, and then, the entire screen froze. After that, an error message appeared right in front of me, just like those anomalous movie files I encountered in the Disney OS. Before then, the video player closed itself. I decided to eject the disc and threw it onto the wall several times. I was questioning in my head, whose idea was it to send me this kind of disc like this? Who did it? And so I decided to take the disc, and then I drove to the Nickelodeon headquarters and I then reported it to them. As I was giving the disc to them, one employee from Nickelodeon then told me this disc was made by Ivan, the terrible television hijacker who would often hijack the Nick Jr. channel to show disturbing variants of the Nick Jr. logo that traumatized many kids. And so then, I've been having nightmares recently about the experience I had with that other disc I brought. To this day, the only known source of the footage is from a video uploaded by Seismo, MK700. It is called Another Nick Jr. Anomaly, 2001, found footage.